and welcome to our World Series / Halloween. Ooh, our spooky edition of One Cardinal, One Cub, and One Beer. Want to begin by asking you to like us on Facebook, follow us on X, and you can contact us through onecard1cub1beer@gmail.com. You can subscribe to our page by clicking on the bottom right hand of the screen on the emblem. Those of you who are on Mac or PC, those of you who are watching on your television set through a streaming device, I cannot speak today. At the end of the video, go to our logo, highlight it, and you will be part of our family. You can support us through Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search One Cardinal, One Cup, and One Beer. And you can support us for $3, $5, or $10 a month, and that will greatly help us. So I do want to switch gears real quick. And this is our next entry for Guess the Cub. Guess the Cub. Let me move this.
There he is.
From about 1975, 1976, around there. So it's a little bit easier than Dave Rosello. So remember, what you are playing for is we have a prize package that includes the One Cardinal, One Cup, One Beer official mug, official drinking bottle, our license plate that you can put on your car and outrun the police, and they will never know who you are because you don't have an official tag. It's pretty handy. We are also giving away with that is that it with the shirt, the official One Cardinal, One Cup, One Beer shirt. And with that, you're also getting 2 tickets to a Cardinal game. We're going to try to make it a Cardinal Cup game. And like I said, the quality of the seats is going to be contingent upon how much money we raise in Patreon. So it can be anywhere from a suite to you're sitting on the rim. So but hey, it's free baseball if you win this. And what you do is you submit your guess to either me or JJ, and you can do it any way you want. You can do phone call, you can just send us an email, you can just put a comment on the YouTube, you can put a comment on the page or the Spotify, the podcast. You can send us a smoke signal, but the first person that we can verify that gives us the name of this player right here, you will get a tally, and the person with the most tallies at the end of spring training will get our prize package. So there you go. I got that out of the way. So remember that guy, study him, and submit your answer. So also do want to do a little commercial here that JJ will be co-hosting along with friend of the show, Dan Rutledge, on Saturday at Tetros in Festus, the best Cajun food you're ever going to have. And there's a comedy competition with 6 quality comics. All 6 are like the cream of the crop in St. Louis. And they're having like a contest, and there's going to be a grand prize winner, and they're going to get so much money that they're going to roll out of here in a limo and all this other stuff. But it's a really, really good fun night. It's $15 a ticket. And JJ, give the info on where they can get tickets.
Go on down to Tetros. They're selling them at the door. Dan's got something set up on the internet. And you know me, I don't know much about the internet, but you can go up there and get it. Or you can come to me or Dan and get tickets. Or just reach out to us, and I'll make sure you get some tickets. But it's going to be a good time. And you better get them quick, because we've got about 90% of them sold out as of this minute.
That's awesome.
So that's pretty good. That's awesome.
Very good. So, gentlemen, how are you guys doing?
Fantastic. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Oh, yeah, man. This is great. World Series going on. A lot of trade talk. It's just been fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and get this off here. Woo! Now I can breathe again. No mascaras. All right. Now we're back in action.
Now you look like You look
Uncle
like
Fester.
a clown.
I do. I do. That's right.
Yeah. Hey, you want to do the show in your pajamas? That's your business. I mean, I'm not going to criticize you for doing that. So
This is so relaxing. Just getting here on a Wednesday or Tuesday. It comes out on Wednesdays and just talking baseball. I'm so relaxed. This is the best day of the week right here.
yeah, we're actually going to miss the first few innings of the game to do this, which is weird. We're doing our World Series edition, and we're missing the first few innings of Game 4 of the World Series. But anyway, I wanted to mention that Frank Howard passed away this past week. He was a four-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year, I think in '61 with the Dodgers. He ended his career with 382 home runs, 273 average, an 851 OPS. And Frank was a gentle giant. He was 6'7", 255 pounds, which, that's not quite as big as Aaron Judge, but you're looking at, 50 plus years ago, he was a huge man. And that started getting me to think, who are the tallest baseball players that have played this sport on the major league level? And this is weird. I found out the tallest players in Major League Baseball have been John Rush and Sean Healy, who's currently pitching for the Giants. Rush is retired. Both of them 6'11". Of course, Randy Johnson, the big unit, was 6'10". Chris Martin is 6'8". They're Volstad, who pitched for the Marlins, who also pitched spell for the Cubs. He was about 6'9", 6'10". So we've had some very tall players. But I'd mentioned these guys that are 6'10", 6'11", who's played Major League Baseball. Do you know what the tallest position player in Major League Baseball, who that was?
Is it Judge or is it Frank?
Close.
What about that kid from Cincinnati, that shortstop? Isn't he like, I don't know, what is he, like 6'6" as a shortstop?
You mean Pittsburgh, O'Neal Cruz? 6'7"?
There's that. They got that Cincinnati kid too. That's a giant. I can't think of his name. Del Rosa.
Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah.
See that tall?
Cruz. He's a tall fella.
I'm doing research. Let's see. It's on his Wikipedia page. Hold on.
All right, I'm excited. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I thought he was a real tall fella too, like O'Neal Cruz.
He's 6'5", so
6'5",
taller than all of us.
Yeah.
The tallest position player was 6'8". Tony Clark, first baseman for the Tigers and the Red Sox, who I think for a while he was
union representative.
He had a job in the baseball office. I don't know, but he may still. I don't know, but 6'8". So when you go through a list of the tallest major league players, the tallest of the tall are pitchers, and then most of those people who are above 6'5" are still pitchers. It's very rare you're finding a position player that is above 6'5". And I started thinking about that. It would seem to me if you had a 7-foot athletic human being like a Wilt Chamberlain, wouldn't you think that maybe someday some big giant guy is going to, I don't know, upset the apple cart and hit 80 home runs? But I know
that's kind of what Judge did. I mean, he's huge. He's a huge guy.
He's 6'7", about 285, something like that.
Let's see.
Dave Winfield. I know he's not that big.
6'7", 280. So.
Oh man. But Dave Winfield, I think he got drafted by several sports.
Yeah,
he's a big man, very athletic for his size too.
Yeah, I was thinking about Sean Bradley, who played in the NBA, 7'6", went to Brigham Young. he played baseball growing up and was supposedly really good. Of course, he never had any muscle mass. He was just straight up and down.
Yeah.
If he stood sideways, stuck out his tongue, you'd think he was a zipper. I mean, he was really skinny. Um, hey, that's a good joke. I think I'll keep that one. So, do you think it's possible? Do you think the issue is that the strike zone gets too big when you're that tall? So it's harder for a position player to make it as a hitter. It seems to me there'd be more room for more holes in the strike zone. What do you think?
I think there's a lot of swing and miss associated because their levers are so long. That was, I mean, it's still a concern with Kevin Alcantara, who talked about on the farm earlier. He's 6'6", and it's so hard. It's so easy to generate power though when you have such long limbs and levers. It's just there's a lot of swing and miss associated, and the strike zone is a concern. Aaron Judge gets tons of low strikes called on him just because he's huge. I mean, you see a picture of him next to Jose Altuve, it's like it's crazy. It's like seeing a dwarf next to like
It's
a
kind of comical.
yeah, it's absurd.
I think with
Yeah,
those long limbs too, your swing gets longer. Seems like it takes a lot longer to get it through there. I mean, if you're swinging like a normal batter, it just seems like the swing would be so long. Pete Rose used to, I mean, he was never a big guy, but he's crouched so low, his strike zone was so small. He forced that pitcher to throw it in on him and had a lot of success there. You know, it's tough for those big guys, although it's great at the wall. They could, you know, you get a basketball player out there, he could just rob a lot of home runs and things like that. But man, I just think it's a different skill set for those big guys out there.
I think about like Reggie Jackson. Wasn't a huge guy, but he generated his power with a quick swing. It was more of a compact swing, and most home run hitters have more of a big looping swing. So I would think if you had a big guy, Judge's for Judge's size, his swing is not that long. Yeah, it's pretty much an
No.
explosive, quick swing. So I think that would be the key. You have to have more of that compact swing in order to compensate for having that big looping swing, because you got a lot of arms, you got a lot of hips, you got a lot of legs, you got a lot of stuff to get into motion to swing if you're going to have that big swing. So you're going to have to figure out a way to shorten it up. I've always thought, like Chamberlain was probably the greatest athlete ever. He apparently could do everything. And
Yeah,
my dad tells the story that they used to barnstorm. The NBA used to barnstorm. They would come to St. Louis, and he saw Chamberlain take a ball in midcourt, take 2 steps, and dunk. It's
Man.
unreal. So he played professional volleyball, and and he stooped over 20,000 women, according to him. That takes an athlete.
Yep.
That's some
you do
cardio.
anything and anyone.
That's some cardio right there. You know, in school when they took the kids for the high school baseball team or the college kids, seemed like the idea baseball player was like a 5'11" to 6'2" lean Sean Green kind of look, or JD Drew. I mean, I'm just talking about physical. They could run like the wind, and they had a long reach, a good arm. And but now with these athletes today, I think we're in for something else. There's going to be, like you said, there's going to be, it just seems like they're getting bigger and bigger. I've seen catchers now over 6 foot tall. And you just never would see a guy that size catching. Now, I don't know how good it will be for his longevity of playing baseball with that kind of size behind the plate. Usually we're short, squatty guys. But yeah, the game's changing, and we're seeing all kinds of athletes, more and more countries, more it's there for everyone to play. So yeah, you don't know what we're going to see ahead of you, but I think the size of these players, definitely these corner outfielders and the first and third basemen, they're just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Well, anything either you two want to bring up?
I've got some fun facts.
Okay.
So they're quick. I promise they're quick.
No, take your
First of
time.
all, I'd like to wish a happy birthday to Rat Boy and Mike Napoli. So they both share a birthday on Halloween, and I thought that was somewhat interesting. Fred McGriff, also happy birthday to him.
Hey, crime dog.
And my one final fun fact is that Yoshinobu Yamamoto shared a locker with a former Cub in Japan. Father, can you guess who this former Cub is?
Former Cub. Um, who?
Frank Schwindel.
Oh, Frank the Tank.
Yeah, so hopefully he put in a good word for us.
Awesome. I know he's gonna come to the Cubs. I mean, why not? I mean, everybody wants
Yeah,
to play
why
for the
not?
Cubs. Yeah. So, hey, there was some goofy thing put out there that he said that he did not want to play for a team with any other Japanese players. And that's been like, no, he never said that. But that was kind of a big rumor for, for a while that, oh, he only wants to play if he's the only Japanese player. Why? Yeah. Sounds like he's racist against Japanese people, if you ask me. So,
Hey, I got something to add. I want to thank Tony Pruno. Me and Vince went over there and watched game one in the mecca of baseball rooms, the Tony Pruno experience. It was a great game. He was a great host. We had hot dogs and soda and watched the game.
we had
And
Nathan's hot dogs.
Nathan's hot dogs.
I'm
Don't
a
get no
hot
better.
dog snob. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
is that
legit.
the preferred? Ah, I see. I see. So anyway, I want to thank Tony for having us over, and it was a good time. And his room just keeps expanding. It's like the Smithsonian over there.
Yeah. We'll have to take Max and Brody there. Brody may have
Oh
seen it, but
yeah.
we'll have to take Max there. It's it's a miniature Hall of Fame. It's you know, he's not sporting the stuff that I have here. He's got all kinds of really, really rare and cool stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a lot of fun.
That's a good time.
In Cub news, there is no Cub news. Any Cardinal news?
Well, sort of, kind of. The Hall of Fame, we talked about the special committee, the modern day committee voting. Well, now they got some finalists for the Ford Frick Award, and that's for journalists, announcers, that kind of thing. And Joe Buck is a finalist for the Ford Frick Award. I don't know who he's up against. I know he's been a part of the baseball scene for a long time, but we'll see what happens there. But he's up for that. Let's see. And they're going to one of the things the Cardinals have a lot of interest in is the lottery draft order, and they're not doing it like they did in the past, where the team that finished worst record gets the first pick necessarily. It's almost like the NBA, where there's so many chances you get, so many like a lottery kind of thing with the little balls, and you get more chances to get the number one pick. But the Cardinals, as it stands right now, would have been the number 5 pick. So, with a little luck, we might get the first pick. I don't even know. There's so many college kids out there and hit and misses, and yeah. But anyway, that's kind of a neat thing, and that'll be December 5th. Let's see. That's about it in Cardinal news. There ain't a whole lot of Cardinal news either.
Yeah, the World Series kind of put things on hold. Right now, as we speak, the Rangers hold a 2-1 advantage, and the first game was absolutely dynamite when Seager hit the home run and went into extra innings, and then Garcia polished it off with a walk-off. Then the second game, the Diamondbacks just absolutely had a cakewalk. And then last night, the Rangers came back. A couple things have happened since last night's game. Garcia and Scherzer are both off the roster for the rest of the World Series. Garcia has the oblique strain, and that just doesn't heal overnight. And Scherzer has anger issues. Yeah. No. What exactly?
That is true.
What exactly was it the line drive he took off of his?
He said it was back spasms.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
he said it was unrelated to the comebacker. So just being old, I guess.
I certainly do agree with him there. So that's either going to really rally the Rangers, or they're gonna kind of like kind of have a letdown, because Garcia's carrying the team right now. I mean, the guy's an absolute stud. And one thing that I don't watch a lot of Rangers games. I don't think I've ever seen him throw from the outfield, except throwing the ball in. And last night, he threw out Christian Walker at home plate, and it wasn't even close. Now, I do want to bring this play up because Walker, it's in the first inning or second inning. I can't remember which one, but as he's rounding third, the third base coach, Tony Perezchia, he is waving him, but then when he gets right about the third, then the third base coach throws up the stop sign, like, no, no, no. Well, Walker had his head down. I mean, he looked like he couldn't turn his neck or something. He just had his head down, ran straight through the stop sign, and got his butt nailed. Who do you put the blame on? Do you put the blame on the third base coach because he was waving him initially and then threw up the stop sign? Or do you put the blame on Walker for putting his head down? Walker said he had his head down because he wanted to, he didn't want to waste any speed by looking around. He wanted to run as fast as he could, so he figured the fastest he could to just keep his head down and keep going. Whose fault is that? Fault, that's a bad word. Whose responsibility is that? Or is it just one of those things?
Max, you want to take it first?
Yeah, sure. I don't know if third base coaches do this. If I was a third base coach, I would just yell and use my hands. And obviously, at a packed stadium in the World Series, it's going to be hard to hear. But stop, 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 stop. I mean, he's kind of half-assing it, which you can never really do. I mean, when you see someone emphatically waving, head down, I mean, it just seems kind of unfortunate. If Walker had just saw him put up the stop sign and just kept running, that's obviously on him. It's something Nick Madrigal would probably do, base running, which would be very frustrating to watch. But and Walker isn't the speediest guy. He's a first baseman. He's an athletic first baseman. He's a Gold Glover, but it just might be one of those things. I don't think it necessarily haunted them. Obviously, a one-run game. It would have been a one-run game, so maybe things play out differently, but probably not.
I don't, I know because I watch more Cardinal games than anything. We have had a history of a few guys that really don't pay attention to the third base coach. Pujols was one of them. He would just run through the stop sign. Most of the time, the higher average, he did score, but there was a lot of times he got thrown out. But he's Albert Pujols, so I guess he's earned that. Some of them do that. I just think he wanted to make the play, but from what I saw, it looked like he was in a good area where the runner could see him, and it looked like he put it up before he hit the third base. I don't know. I'm not 100% on that, but it looked like maybe he was a couple steps away from third base, and maybe he was just running through the stop sign, was coming home anyway, but he did have his head down as well. I kind of put that on the runner because anything can change. I know Garcia has won a Gold Glove. I didn't know his arm was that good. That was a heck of a play by him. And to answer your question, I'd put it on the runner more than anybody. But man, they're going to miss Garcia, his defense. And like Max said, he is the hottest Ranger hitter right now. And I see they brought up two people to replace the two that are out for the rest of the World Series. But of course, it won't be anybody on the level of Garcia and Max. Although Max has thrown 3 games since he's come back off the DL. And I mean, they've been one was bad. They've been serviceable starts, so maybe they won't miss Max as much with Andrew Healy, I believe is his name, the guy who's pitched for the Angels. Yeah, with him coming in there, I think he could do probably just as good a job. And so I don't think they'll miss him in the starting rotation. But it may come down to game 7 with him pitching. And that's going to be pretty rough. So we'll see how that plays out in the long run.
Well, before we get off the Walker thing, I just know from personal experience, whenever I played baseball growing up and into high school, as soon as I rounded second, I was looking for the third base coach, because if balls hit the right field, you got to pick up the third base coach early so he can say, come on over, or stop you at second so you get back to second. Of course, if it's left field, it's in front of you, so it's a little more irrelevant. But it was just kind of second nature. You pick up the third base coach, and I know he picked him up while he was saying, come on home. But I guess I agree with you, JJ, that things can change. A great play can happen. You kind of got to really pay attention to that third base coach.
A ball can get bobbled, and then they might have to turn you. Come on, they bobbled the ball. You got to be focused on that guy. And we used to have JD Drew. I don't know if you remember that guy. He was such a talented player, but he would turn second and have his head turned all the way around watching the right fielder. He didn't even pick up the third base coach until he was like halfway there. And I was like, whoa, my gosh, but he was so talented, but some of those little things he wasn't very good at. So I see a little more running mistakes these days, maybe than I used to.
Yeah. And one thing I don't want to overlook about last night's game, John Gray came in and just was a stud. And
he may be the game 7 starter if it goes 7.
Yeah, he looked really good. And for a guy who's bounced around, been around, that was probably the highlight of his career, because he just came up there and shoved in Arizona, like just shut them down. And I thought that was an excellent performance. And I did think that in the I think it was the 9th when DeClerc was in, said it, when they threw the ball 4 inches outside and called it a strike on Walker. Yeah, I was like, whoa, dude, that was not even close.
He messed up on that one.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You know who I've been impressed with in this World Series? I like that third baseman Young for the Rangers. I'll be honest, before this year, I didn't really know much about him. And as the playoffs have gone, this kid has been so good. Barehanded balls. He caught one of the plays of the game was the ball that was hit off of Scherzer's elbow. Yeah. Young comes up there, grabs it barehanded, and fires it across the diamond. And that kid's got like a Scott Rowland, Sean Dunston kind of arm where it's a laser beam over there. And I think that's made Corey Seager a better shortstop, because that kid plays so much of an area that Seager's just got a shorter area that he has to play. And that kid is special. I've really enjoyed him. A storyline I've really liked is that Evan Carter kid in left field that came up, somewhere around the trading deadline and has just solidified that outfield and played a real good outfield and come up with a lot of hits too. Those two storylines on the Rangers side, I've just absolutely loved watching these young folks play, and man, they're playing a heck of baseball out there.
I did read an article today that this is so far the ratings have been very low. And I think that's kind of, you got Texas and Arizona. They're not, you can kind of tell when a World Series is going to have good ratings when it has bad ratings, just based upon who's in it. What teams have bigger followings? So
Dodgers and Yankees. Yeah,
Dodgers and Yankees. I've heard Cub fans say that in 2003, the year that the Bartman incident happened and everything, that the Major League Baseball did not want the Cubs to get in the World Series, some kind of conspiracy thing. I'm thinking, you don't think Major League Baseball did not want the Yankees and the Cubs in the World Series? You think they wanted the Marlins and the Yankees? No, they want the teams that are going to bring in the most ratings, the most eyeballs to the sport. And that's one of the things that I do like about baseball is that sometimes, the two teams that go in are not the Yankees and the Dodgers. I'm perfectly happy watching the Diamondbacks and the Rangers.
I've loved it. It's been great. And this is great for baseball because these fans, these young kids will get to see their Diamondbacks and the Rangers. And these are two great baseball areas. And I think, how 2016 with the Cubs, all these kids that it just rejuvenated that area and they were already very popular. But now you got all these kids that were kind of maybe a little more on the basketball or the football side. And now they're maybe Cubs are the number one team they follow or the sport they follow. So I think in Arizona and Texas, those areas, this is really going to grow their fan base and make some great memories. And it's just good for the game. I truly believe it. It'll be good for the game.
And it's bad for the Cowboys.
I'm kind of tired. I'm fed up with the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Rangers win it. It's going to be, since the last time the Cowboys have won the Super Bowl, you've had the Dallas Stars win the Stanley Cup. The Dallas Mavericks have won the NBA title. And if Texas wins, the Rangers will have won the World Series. So Dallas will have had the longest drought. The Cowboys would have the longest drought in Dallas, which is pretty cool. So,
It is pretty cool.
uh,
Can I give you a fun fact? I got a fun fact.
Give me a fun fact.
It sounds like I'm Ranger, heavy on everything. I want to give the Diamondbacks a little love too. It's been fun watching those guys. Kento Marte, who has a 19-game postseason hitting streak, which is fantastic, and we've talked about him on this podcast, how good he is, and he just doesn't get the big national stories about him. It's so good to see this kid playing his butt off, and a big piece of that puzzle, how good the Diamondbacks have been and how far they've gotten. Another thing is Tommy Pham, ex-Cardinal. Good to see Tommy doing good. He's 4 for 4, and he has 5 straight hits. And the record in postseason for at bats and getting hits, 2 players have 7. Billy Hatcher, remember that year he had those 7 straight hits and he had some walks in there too?
Yes.
He was just on fire.
Former Cub.
Oh, see, now I didn't know that. All right.
Came up as a Cub.
Thurman Munson, who we love, we all love Thurman Munson, one of the all-time greats. He had 7 consecutive hits. And there was a guy with 6, Goose Goslin, who played for the Washington team way back in 1924, had 6 consecutive hits and at bats. So just giving some of them some love too. And then Corbin Carroll, what can you say? That's just a special player. This young kid come up, rookie, and maybe the leader of that team over there. So, man, it's been good. This has been a great World Series, a great matchup. It's going to be fun the rest of the way.
Yeah, I liked how Torey Novello managed yesterday's game. He left Fat, or maybe by next year we'll have the name down. He left him in there to eat up some innings, even when he gave up the 3 spot. And the kid responded by bouncing back and throwing good. But he did a good job saving the bullpen a little bit. And they actually brought that up in the telecast, which was good because sometimes they don't always bring up stuff in the telecast, besides. And did you know that his wife can cook chicken noodle soup? Something like that. So
that's true. That is so true.
Any other thoughts on the World Series?
I think it's shaping up to be a good one. My prediction right now, 7 games. I think it'll go there. They're pretty evenly matched. They're both hot at the right time, and it's so much fun to watch these two teams.
I agree.
Defense. I've loved watching the defense. I know there's other teams that have more power. Some teams I think have better rotations, but I don't know about defense. These teams are just lighting it up. Anything they cut down some balls that look like they're going to be doubles. They cut them down, get the ball in there quickly, hold them to a single. We've seen some great defensive plays. That's what I like. I like a 3-1 game. There's so much tension all through the 9 innings. You can't miss it in a bat. So it's been the defense and just except for game 2, everything's been really close and a lot of fun.
They both have great outfields, but they're two different outfields. Arizona has all that speed. They can get to a lot of stuff, and they don't have particularly good arms. And Texas doesn't have quite the team speed, so they can give up some more in the gaps. But their outfielders throw well. So and Christian Walker found out you got to watch out for their arms, man.
He won't make that mistake twice. He'll be looking the next time.
All right. Well, who else is enjoying the World Series?
It's got to be our good friend
Jeremy Connor. Comes a time in every man's life when he needs some advice on relationships. You need to listen to the podcast DMDR, which stands for Dating, Marriage, Divorce, Remarriage, from my good friend Jeremy Connor, the Dr. Phil of the Boot Hill. You can find DMDR on Spotify or whatever platform you choose to listen to your podcast. Hello, we are going to do our last episode of the year of Down on the Farm because those farmhands aren't playing anymore except those in the Arizona Fall League. But we wanted to check in with Brody and Max and see how the Cardinal and Cub organizations finished the year. Do I hear JJ in the background?
Yes, you probably do. He's loud.
Tell him to shut his big mouth. I mean, geez, he's not a part of this. All right. Brody, why don't you go first? Tell us what how the Cardinals finished up their minor league seasons.
Well, starting out with AAA, the Memphis Redbirds. It was a mediocre year. They didn't have the best of years. They had 71 wins and 78 losses. They were 13 and. Oh yeah, they were. They finished 13 and a half games back. It's probably still better than the Cardinals did. I ain't for sure what the Cardinals finished back, but it wasn't pretty. Not as bad as 63 games back like the 2018 Orioles, but not too hot either. They actually had a record this year. 223,751 fans attended the Memphis games for the first time since the pandemic. The
Wow.
biggest number since. So people who think that baseball is a dying sport, there's a lot of people that sure like to check out how the people coming up are doing. Pitcher Michael McKeevy had a nice season in Memphis. He went 11-6 with 135 innings pitched and 107 strikeouts. So he was, solid. This year did have a lot of talent coming up. Most of these guys did come up to the league this year, like Matthew Libator. He went down for a while. James Nail, he's promising. Dakota Hudson. Rom did good. Jojo Romero, good Halloween season. I know with George Romero and whatnot. Zach Thompson. Those are our pitchers. That if most of those, if not all, I believe, have seen the major league pitching mound at least once. Going over to hitters, Jordan Walker, Mason Wynn, who hit 288 before he came up. Moses Camaro hit 30 home runs. Luca Baker hit 33 home runs. So those guys have fairly solid years. Moving over to Double A, the Springfield Cardinals. Season of two halves. The first half, 34-75, pretty solid, and then the second half, 38-31. So a total of 72-66. The first winning season since 2020. so they've had a dry spell. They've had a few pitchers, 10 of them had winning seasons. The lead starters, Wilfredo Piera, had 10-8. Kenny Hernandez went 7-2. Tink Hintz is really starting to make a difference in Double-A, and also reliever Edgar Escobar. From all accounts, I hear he's pretty hyper on the mound with the last name of Escobar. He went 7-2. Some of the bright spots in hitting, we had great hitting this year. 25-year-old outfielder Mike Antonio with 265 for the average, 18 home runs this year, 52 stolen bases.
Wow,
and
that's
he
good.
got caught stealing 8 times. However, outfielder Chandler Redmond with 256, 32 home runs, and 92 RBIs. Some of the top players, Pedro Pages, our star catcher, and he was voted the best defensive catcher in the minor leagues with 267 average, 16 home runs, and he ended the year with a .992 defensive percentage. So I mean, if I know the Cardinals kind of have a hole in the major leagues right now. They seem to have a new catcher every game through Contreras and Kisner and all those guys. So hopefully, if by the time he gets up there, we have our man. If not, we already have the next guy to fill in Yachty's shoes.
Yeah, the Cardinals always favor defensive catchers, so he's probably got big plans in their future.
Right.
And apparently can hit a little bit. 267,
Right.
not bad.
That was Yachty's problem. He could always hit the ball, but you could run up to the top of the stadium and get a Jimmy John sub and run back down there and still throw him out at first. I mean, he was slow by the time he retired. So coming up to A-ball and Peoria, the Peoria Chiefs, they finished second place, 69-63 is what they finished. 3 Chiefs on the A-ball All-Star team. We have a home run leader, Jimmy Cook, with 12 home runs and 73 RBIs. Stolen bases, we got Victor Scott the second with 50. And I'm personally thinking, looking at this kid, whenever he hits the major leagues, if he doesn't get hurt, I believe he might be one of our starting outfielders. He's been doing good. He's for 2 years in a row, he's been great on defense and speed, and he's the 4th prospect in our system, the 4th highest rated. Batting average, we got Nathan Church with 279. For pitching, we got Wins, Gustavo Rodriguez with 8. The second was his last name or surname or whatever. The saves, we have Angel Maranzo with 11 saves this year. For rookie ball, the Palm Beach Cardinals, we got 64-63 is what they finished out. Second place, and in the second half they went 37-28. So they had a good second stretch. Team leaders, top batting average is third baseman Michael Cardinal with 282 home runs. Alex Lanzaria with 9 home runs. Stolen bases, Juan Bin Cho, I hope I pronounced that correctly, with 32 stolen bases. Pitching, we got Pete Henson with 11 wins, a 3.12 ERA, and saves, we got Tanner Jacobs with 5 saves. So yeah, that I believe that is all of the Cardinal minor leagues.
Well, a couple things that I can glean from that. You mentioned a few guys who've had some pretty good numbers in stolen bases, so obviously they've got some speed, and
Right.
I think every organization is going to be looking for a couple of speed guys with the stolen base average being over 80% right now with
Absolutely.
the bigger bases. And also named a few people with some good pop, 30 plus home runs in the lower minors. You're not going to hit as many home runs. So
Right.
the power's there. So they've got some good things coming. And it'll be interesting next year to see Tink Hens, if he stays healthy, when they're going to bring him up, if they're going to start him at AAA or if they'll just go ahead and make the leap and put him up in the majors if his stuff is as electric as people say.
Right. With our record this year in the majors, it's always hard because it was I believe it was Ali Marmol's first or second year being the GM, and it was a dry year for sure, to say the least. But it was kind of him getting his bearings and stuff. So hopefully next year, whenever we come back in the start of the season, he'll be a little bit more put together, and our team won't be so hit or miss.
Yeah, well, every team has bad seasons, and you've had one in the past 15 years. So,
Right.
so
Yeah.
you get used to it sometimes, which is not a good thing. So, well,
Yeah.
Max, what have you got?
Yeah, just I'm going to talk about the AFL a little bit because the Cubs have two very very important prospects, maybe not in terms of impacting the major league team next year, but in terms of either as trade chips or really far down the line. Currently, James Triantos is looking like a MVP finalist for the Arizona Fall League, which is important because he's doing this as a 20-year-old. A couple of Cubs have won AFL MVP before, most notably Nelson Velasquez, who was traded and actually kind of raked for the Royals after he was traded this past deadline. But there are some other fun names on here. Chris Bryant is one of the other winners. I can't remember if he did that as a 20-year-old or not. He may have been 21. He absolutely raked. Sam Fold, who is currently the GM of the Philadelphia Phillies, won it in 2007 for the Cubs. And then Jason DuBois, way back in 2003. I don't know if you remember him at all. He got like 50 at bats, didn't do anything. But still, I mean, it's a collection of guys, and there are prospects on here like Royce Lewis, Gleyber Torres, Ronald Acuna Jr. So he's in pretty good company. Even a guy like Keston Hiura, he's still got playing time in the major leagues. The Brewers kind of ruined his hit tool, but at one point he was a mega prospect. And you kind of have to take AFL performances with a grain of salt because the pitching quality there just isn't as good as the prospects being set there on the hitting side. But I mean, it is noteworthy because he's playing against much older competition. He's putting up stats that oh man, Lars Nootbaar, he played in the AFL, I think in 2021. He put up very similar stats, but as a 25-year-old who had some major league experience. So seeing a guy who is in high A do this is pretty noteworthy. And it might knock him into the top 100. He was just on the outside cusp. He's the Cubs' number 9th ranked prospect, but he climbed back in after a big, fall league performance. The other notable prospect who was sent down there is the Jaguar, who's hitting just fine, and he's starting to come into his own. It's always fun seeing his highlights because he's this huge, stringy, 6'6" guy who's got electric bat flips and just pimps absolutely everything. And he plays great center field defense, which people seem to forget. So that's noteworthy. As far as the farm system goes as a whole, I think you have to consider this year a massive success, even though they actually technically lost talent in trading away guys. And they even saw some guys who were fairly important take steps back. Brennan Davis, he had another lost year. At one point was considered like the 18th best prospect in baseball. Is probably outside the Cubs' top 30 for me, maybe outside the top 50. And the system went up in ranking. Most places have them as top 5. Although funny enough, a top 5 farm system in baseball, although probably the 3rd best in the National League Central, which is just kind of funny at this point that the Brewers, Reds, and Pirates have better farm systems. But this is all pretty impressive considering that they haven't drafted super high with the exception of Cade Horton. Even that was seen as kind of an overslot pick. So that's a great trend. In terms of Fangraphs has a farm system value where they try and do like a prospect to dollar ratio. They're ranked number 1 before the trade deadline. After they lost a couple prospects at the deadline, they dropped to number 2. And it's just, I don't know, it's a great time to follow the farm system. There's so many guys. It's going to be tough because if I had to guess, we're going to lose guys this offseason. Guys are going to get traded. Guys that we know it's not going to be, the 30th ranked prospect or like Matt Mervis getting traded. We're going to see big names go. Probably not huge names like PCA or Cade Horton, but guys, names you will recognize are going to leave, and that's going to be sad. But it's just a great time to follow Cubs prospects.
So you're saying that we may not see David Bodie?
Well, his contract is up, and if they want to have him just stay down there and be bald and hang out.
Be bald and hang out. All right. I did read an article today. There was one major league scout, and I skimmed it. I didn't read it that said PCA is just definitely not ready. He's going to need
I would agree with that
a little
assessment.
more seasoning, like another season. And I mean, it's hard when you only get one at bat every now and then. And what was he 0 for 12 or something like that? It's not like
It's like 0 for 19, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to get a major leaguer to get their groove whenever they're playing so little or getting so few at bats. So it's kind of hard to gauge. Is he just that overpowered? Was it a bad stretch? Who knows? But that does if that's true, that kind of puts the brakes on some people saying, well, next year he's our center fielder, maybe not.
Actually, I love the quote from Jed Hoyer, which is rare, as most of his quotes come with, a fair amount of criticism, but he actually had a really good point that he said that the best thing that could happen to PCA in those 19 at-bats is what happened, because he has clearly defined things he needs to work on. It's high fastballs, velocity. He has clearly defined things he needs to work on this offseason. And he can take that experience and knowledge of being in a major league clubhouse and seeing major league pitching, he can take that into the offseason and, fight for a spot in spring training. So he definitely looked overmatched. BABIP-wise, probably could have had at least one hit in there, but didn't. And he made some weird base running decisions. It's probably just nerves, but yeah, I don't know. I think he factors into next year's plans, but not enough to where it would dissuade them from re-signing Cody Bellinger, another center fielder perhaps.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, is that everything?
I believe so.
So yeah.
Thank you. And we will pick this segment up again in I guess, April, May, somewhere around there. So thank you. You've both done a great job. Big hand. And we will see you all later. All right. This may be the shortest episode we've had in 6 months. But hey, we want to watch the game. So JJ, what are you opening up today?
Well, you know what, Vince? I bought 3 packs of cards recently. I did a little investigation. They were all football cards. So I dug out some of my classics, and I'll show about 9 or 10 of my classic cards tonight. And that's all I got. I'm gonna do that instead of opening up football cards.
Okay. I'll go ahead and get started because yours are going to be classic and mine's going to have some duds in it.
I bet we got a Hall of Famer in there.
1990 Fleer here. Fleer here. And Fleer Action Series. We got the baseball quiz, the Baltimore Orioles. Where did the Orioles play before relocating to Baltimore in 1954?
St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Yeah.
During the period of 57 through 87, which team, the Orioles, Yankees, Cleveland Indians, had the best winning record in the AL?
7 to 87. I'd probably say Baltimore.
Yeah, it's a Baltimore card. It better be.
Well, that's with my kind of hint right there.
What team did the Orioles sweep in the American League Championship Series in both 69 and 70?
Any thoughts, Max?
I can't think of any.
Oakland?
The Minnesota Twins.
Minnesota Twins.
True or false? The Orioles have won 5 world championships since moving to Baltimore.
I think 5.
Sure, why not?
Let's see.
False.
I'll say
They've only won
false.
3. Slackers. All right. Here's a former Cardinal, great pitcher, once won an ERA title, Joe McGrain.
Joe McGrain, yes.
Joe McGrain. A very good outfielder. Had some really great years and just kind of didn't have the longevity. Ellis Burks.
Oh, yes. Red Sox always come up with outfielders.
Yeah. Former White Sox who had a really good career, Ivan Calderon, the late Ivan Calderon.
Yes. I saw him play at Kaminsky Park.
Oh, Cincinnati Reds, Herm Winningham. Do you know what he's known for?
Chicken noodle soup?
No, he is known as the only guy with the name Herm to have a long last name like Winningham to play Major League Baseball.
Wow, you really come up with that one.
Former Expo, former Brave, Zane Smith.
Oh, yes. Nice career.
Former Royal, former Mariner, Scott Bankhead.
Okay.
Solid pitcher for the Giants and the Pirates, Don Robinson. Detroit first baseman, Dave Bergman.
Yeah. Played with the Astros, too, I believe.
This guy pitched forever, started at the age of 18, right out of high school before he even played minor league baseball. Then he went to the minors for a few years, came back up, pitched for the Cardinals, pitched for the Cubs, and a few other teams. Mike Morgan.
Wow, you know a lot about Mike Morgan, man. I didn't know all that.
Oh, pitched for the Yankees, too. From the Baltimore Orioles, Craig Worthington. This is a bad pack. I mean,
I don't know any of these people.
Nothing
That's
against
pretty
this
rare. Normally I get at least one of them, but none of those guys are ringing any bells.
Former MVP and steroid abuser and dead man now, Ken Caminetti.
Kim Caminetti.
That was very disrespectful, Vince the late. Here's a guy who once won had four straight 20-win seasons. Dave Stewart.
The Death Stare.
Athletic.
Yes.
Former Cardinal, former White Sox, former Cub who had the biggest glove I've ever seen on a center fielder, Lance the Big Dog Johnson. I almost said Crime Dog, Big Dog.
He's very fast.
Lee Guterman. I remember him.
He might have been a Cardinal, too, at one time.
Darren Dalton, those of you who were alive in the 90s who saw the Hooters billboard with the Hooters girl, that was his wife at one time. Yeah. So
good for
Darren
him.
Dalton.
I didn't know. Yeah. No Hall of Famers, but yeah.
Darren Dalton.
That was not one of my best packs. So
I thought Dave Stewart was in the Hall of Fame.
No.
He kind of started late. It took him a while to get Dave Duncan. He credits for his success. He kind of bounced around a while with the Phillies and maybe the Rangers and a few other teams.
The Rangers, Dodgers. I think he came up with the
great
Dodgers.
Career.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Real good career. Big in the playoffs too. I seen him beat Roger Clemens, the big, the big battle.
He was a big time postseason pitcher, and boy, that stare over the gloves.
Oh yeah. Well,
so what do you got?
All right, I've got a few things here. Since Dusty Baker retired, I brought one of his baseball cards out. I believe that's a 74 Dusty Baker right there. And it looks like that picture was taken in spring training, perhaps. But Dusty Baker, man. I think he was on the on-deck circle when Hank Aaron hit 715. I believe he was on the on-deck circle. So he's just been part of baseball forever. Yeah. We all know Tommy Lasorda. Well, the great manager before him was Walt Alston.
Oh.
And there's a 64 Walt Alston right there. How about that? Well, I always try to get some Cubs and Cardinals and everything. And I got to meet Lee Smith. So I got Big Lee on the mound there waiting for the catcher to throw the ball back to him. Looks like he's perhaps scratching himself too. Way to go, Lee.
Hey, man. You're Lee Smith. You need to scratch him. Go for it.
You go for it, Lee Smith. Oh, I have two. These are the rookies. You guys might know this guy, Ryan Sandberg, right there.
Ah,
Yeah, I don't know if they wear those jerseys anymore. Is that a spring training jersey they wear, or I don't remember them wearing that particular jersey anymore.
that looks like a pullover. So that would be a warm up spring training type thing.
Oh, okay. Well, I like it. Looks good. And there's Orion in there. And then this is the other one. I think this is the more valuable one right here. But there he is getting the hit and taking off for first base right there. So Ryan
Beautiful.
Sandberg, one of my favorite Cubs. That just a class act. And I always associate him with Ozzie. For years and years, it was Ryan at second and Ozzie at short in the All-Star game, representing the National League. So I kind of put them two together, and their careers kind of went along the same lines there. And of course, Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks right there. Look at that Ernie Banks. That's a 1960s right there, Ernie Banks. And I've never seen a picture of Ernie without him smiling. That guy just looked like he loved to play baseball, man. The great Ernie Banks.
Just a happy guy.
I'm kind of happy guy. Well, these two guys I linked together, so I'm going to show them one at a time. But for about 6 years, maybe the best, one of the greatest pitchers, Sandy Koufax. There he is, retired early, but he had the no-hit record until Ryan beat it. I think he had 5 no-hitters, I believe, or maybe it was 4.
I think he had 4.
Ryan came 4, and then Ryan came and had those 7. So there he is. And of course, when you think of Sandy Koufax, the 1-2 punch, you got to include Don Drysdale right there. Oh, yeah. I think they were on an episode of the Brady Bunch together, weren't they? Drysdale? I know Drysdale was. I look at Vince like he knows all of our sitcom knowledge right there. And then I have 2 more cards to show, and these are 1958 All-Stars. And my favorite player ever that ever played the game was Ted Williams. And that's the only Ted Williams card I have, the 1958 All-Star card right there, Ted Williams. And then my wife got me both of these, the 1958 Mickey Mantle. There's old Mickey Mantle right there. They're not in perfect shape, but they're good enough for me. Let me put it that way. So since I was, instead of ball cards, I just showed some of my classic cards right there. And that's it for me.
Very good. Well, gentlemen, let's get out of here. Let's watch some World Series, and we will see everybody next week. Remember to take a guess at the Cub, get a tally. You may be walking out of spring training with a prize package and tickets to a ball game. How about that? Thanks, everybody.
Pretty cool.
Y'all have a good one.